Hi, myself Dr. Riya Singh. I am Assistant Professor at Kristu Jayanti College. Today we are going to discuss about the IS 23, that is borrowing cost. Here we will discuss that till now whatever we have learned. Basically we know that if any borrowing cost is there, very first what is the borrowing cost? If on any of the loan we are giving a interest or the other charges, okay, that is the borrowing cost. So we know that borrowing cost, if it is incurring for the loan, so that borrowing cost is a expense, okay. But according to IS 23, the definition is little bit different. So we are going to discuss about that if borrowing cost has incurred, whether that borrowing cost will be capitalized here means it is going to record in balance sheet, or whether we are going to treat it as a expense, okay. If it will be capitalized, then what is the time limit, and if it is going to be treated as expense, then what will be the time for the same. So very first we have to see that what is the definition of the borrowing cost according to IS 23. So borrowing cost means the interest and the other cost which is incurred by an enterprise for acquisition or construction or production of a qualifying asset, okay. That if any of the qualifying asset we are purchasing, okay, and for that particular purchasing or construction or production, if any loan we are taking, and for that loan we are paying a borrowing cost, okay. So that is the definition of borrowing cost under IS 23. Now the following amount should be considered while computing the borrowing cost. What all that cost are? That interest on long term or short term borrowed funds, then finance charges incurred under finance lease, okay. If any asset we have taken under finance lease, so for that we have to give a finance charges, that also will come under the borrowing cost under your IS 23. Or if any exchange differences are there with regard to the foreign exchange borrowing, that we have borrowed some money from some different countries, so from there we have to pay some exchange differences, okay. So that also will come under the borrowing cost only. Now what is that qualifying asset, okay. For each and every asset we cannot treat that borrowing cost as the capitalized cost, okay. Some qualifying assets are there, for that only we can use it. So qualifying asset is an asset that takes substantial period of time to get ready for its intended use or further sale, okay. Here the substantial period means it is going to, that qualifying asset is going to take some time. It could be 1 year, it could be 2 years, okay. It is not going to finish under 1 day or 2 day only. When it is going to take a substantial period of time to get it to ready to use, then only that will be your qualifying asset. And if any this kind of qualifying asset is there, so for that whatever borrowing cost is incurring, that will be capitalized. It means it will be going to the balance sheet, okay. Now qualifying asset may be any of the following type depending on the condition. That could be your intangible asset which is under the development, or inventories other than the routine stock or the common stock. Routine stock or common stock here means which is for a resale purpose, okay. So if these are there, so that will be our qualifying asset. Now what could not be a qualifying asset? So inventories which are produced or manufactured within a short period of time, that is not a qualifying asset. If we are taking any loan for the same, so if any borrowing cost is incurring, that will not be capitalized, okay. Then assets which are not ready to use or sale at a time of acquisition, okay. So these will not be treated as a qualifying asset. Now if we have recognized that we have sure now these all are the qualifying asset, then how we are going to recognize it in our balance sheet. So an entity shall capitalize those borrowing costs that are in regard to the acquisition, production, construction or of a qualifying asset included as the part of cost of that asset. Any expense of borrowing cost incurred other than above shall be write off as expense in the year in which they occur, okay. So now we have to see as that capitalization of that particular borrowing cost will be there. So it will not be there for the whole period. Okay, for that period we have taken a loan. If we have taken a loan for 10 years, so that capitalization of that particular borrowing cost will not be continue with the 10 years. Okay, some specific time period is there. For that particular time period only we have to capitalize this borrowing cost. Okay, so what is that time period? So there will be a commencement of that time period and there will be an end or the cessation of that time period. So what is the commencement of time period? Basically 3 conditions are there and all the conditions must be met. Okay, very first condition is expenditure for the asset is being incurred. Okay, that what the qualifying asset we are going to take, for that expenditure has incurred. Just say example, we are going to construct a building. For that construction we have taken a loan. Okay, now on taking that loan, some expenditure on just constructing that particular building, some expenditure we have done. Just say example, architecture fee. Okay, so that is the expenditure. Now next condition is borrowing costs are being incurred. Okay, that already we have taken a loan, we have started giving a borrowing cost or the interest on the same. Okay, this also must start. Then third condition is activities that are necessary to prepare the asset for its intended use or sale are in progress. What the activity should be started. Okay, just example, if we have taken an example of building, so architectural plan has started. Okay, so that activity has started. Once all these 3 the conditions will be fulfilled, then only from that date only we are going to capitalize this borrowing cost. Okay, now next is when we are going to end just charging that borrowing cost as a capitalized value. Okay, so cessation is here, that capitalization of borrowing cost should cease when either of the condition has fulfilled. What is that either condition? That substantially all the activities necessary to prepare the qualifying asset for its intended use or sale are completed. Okay, that substantial portion has completed. Just say example, that building only what we were constructing, the full layout we have made. Okay, full structure of that building we have made, only that flooring or piping and all are only needed. Okay, in that case we will consider as that substantial activities has been completed for the same. So in the, when it will happen, that date only we will stop charging this borrowing cost as the capitalized value. Okay, we will stop charging this borrowing cost in the cost of that particular asset. Okay, from that day onwards the borrowing cost will be charged in your SOPL or the statement of profit and loss account as the expense. Okay, and next or the another condition is if construction is suspended. Okay, what the building construction we were doing, that has now been suspended. So in that case also that capitalization of that borrowing cost will stop there. If any borrowing cost is happening, that will be treated as a expense in the statement of profit and loss account. So here this is the concept of borrowing cost according to IS 23. Thank you.